Everyone thinks the biggest lie in From is that the monsters are pretending to be human. They're wrong. The biggest lie is something far more dangerous. It's the idea that the monsters are the enemy. But what if they've never been the real threat? What if the town has spent every season pointing us toward the monsters, only to distract us from the thing that's actually controlling everything? Because once you see this, you can't watch from the same way again. Every death, every vision, every symbol, every impossible coincidence, they all begin to point toward one terrifying conclusion. The monsters aren't running the game. They're following it. And that changes absolutely everything. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Whenever someone arrives in the town, everyone immediately warns them about one thing. Don't go outside at night. The monsters become the center of every conversation, every plan, every fear, every survival strategy. That seems logical. After all, they're the ones hunting people. They're the ones smiling outside the windows. They're the ones knocking on doors. But here's what changes everything. What if the monsters are only the most visible danger?
Think about it.
Almost every major mystery in From happens when the monsters aren't even around. Who built the tunnels? Who created the talismans? Who keeps sending visions? Who controls the boy in white? Who speaks through the radio? Who makes the phones ring? Who chooses who arrives? Who decides when someone leaves? None of those answers lead back to the monsters.
Not one.
The creatures never claim responsibility. They never explain anything. They simply appear when night falls and disappear before sunrise. Almost like employees finishing a shift. That is a very strange detail, because predators usually hunt whenever they can. These creatures don't. They operate inside strict rules. Rules someone else may have created. And this is where it gets darker. Every time we focus on killing the monsters, the town quietly wins. Notice the pattern. Season after season, the survivors become obsessed with surviving the night. Board the windows. Check the talismans.
Count the people. Hide.
Wait until morning. Repeat. It feels like survival. But maybe it's actually imprisonment. Because while everyone is watching the monsters, nobody is asking why the town wants them looking at the monsters in the first place. That isn't the real mystery. The real mystery is attention. Where does the town want people looking? And where does it desperately not want them looking? That question changes everything. This is the detail everyone missed. The monsters almost never rush. They don't sprint toward easy victims. They walk.
Slowly.
Calmly. Patiently.
Why?
The obvious answer is confidence. But what if it's something much stranger? What if they already know escape is impossible?
Think about that.
If the town itself traps people, then the monsters don't need to hurry. They're not chasing prey that's escaping. They're collecting prey that's already trapped. That completely changes their behavior. They're not hunters. They're janitors. Cleaning up whoever breaks the rules. Now think about the first road into town. Every single person sees the fallen tree. Everyone. No exceptions. The tree appears before the monsters. Before Colony House. Before the sheriff. Before anyone even realizes where they are. That means the trap begins long before nightfall. Long before a monster smiles through a window. The real prison isn't created by the creatures. It's created by the road itself. The monsters only arrive after the prison door has already closed. That order matters. Because the show is quietly revealing its priorities. Step 1.
Trap them.
Step 2. Confuse them. Step 3. Let fear do the rest. Look carefully at how the town behaves. It doesn't simply kill people. It studies them. Every newcomer arrives carrying emotional baggage.
Loss.
Regret.
Guilt.
Broken families. Secrets.
Fear.
It's almost as if the town selected them.
Not randomly.
Specifically, the Matthews family wasn't perfect. Boyd carried enormous responsibility. Jade entered believing logic could solve everything. Sara heard voices almost immediately. Father Katri carried guilt from his past. Tabitha couldn't stop searching for answers. Notice something? The town attacks each person's weakness before attacking their body. That isn't how monsters behave. That's how psychologists behave. Or prison wardens. or experiments. But here's the disturbing part. The monsters rarely manipulate emotions directly. The town does. The visions do. The voices do. The dreams do. The hallucinations do. The mysterious symbols do. The impossible coincidences do. Everything affecting the survivors psychologically comes from something much larger than the creatures outside. Almost as if the monsters exist only to keep people alive long enough for the real experiment to continue. And suddenly, every season starts looking different. The creatures don't create despair. They maintain it. Think about their conversations. Yes, conversations. Because that's another clue everyone ignores. The monsters speak. They joke. They recognize people. They remember names. They even seem curious. That isn't random behavior. They're following routines. Almost like workers assigned specific tasks.
Smile. Lure.
Punish. Leave before sunrise. Repeat tomorrow. That's not freedom. That's employment. Which raises the most terrifying question yet. If the monsters are following rules, who wrote those rules? And why has the show spent 4 seasons making us blame the workers, instead of finding the one giving the orders? The moment you accept that idea, dozens of scenes stop feeling random. They start fitting together. Not perfectly, but disturbingly well. Because the town doesn't behave like a haunted place. It behaves like a system. Every system has rules. Every rule has a purpose. And every purpose has someone or something behind it. The monsters may enforce those rules, but they don't appear to create them. That difference is enormous. Let's start with the boy in white. For years, fans have debated the same question. Is he good? Is he evil? Is he trying to save everyone? But that's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why he never gives complete answers. Think about every time he appears. He points. He warns. He leads someone somewhere. Then he disappears. He never sits down and explains the truth. He never tells Boyd how to end the nightmare. He never tells Tabitha who built the town. He never tells Jade what the symbol actually means. Instead, he gives fragments. Just enough information to keep people moving. But never enough to set them free. That isn't rescue. That's guidance. And there's a huge difference. Look at what the show is actually telling us. If the boy in white truly wanted everyone to escape, why has nobody escaped because of his instructions? Every clue creates another mystery. Every answer opens another door. It's like following breadcrumbs in a forest that never ends. And this is where it gets darker. Maybe the boy in white isn't leading people out. Maybe he's leading them exactly where the system needs them to go. Not because he's evil, because that's his role. Now think about Jade. Jade believes every mystery has a logical solution. He treats the town like a puzzle. He searches for patterns. He connects symbols. He refuses to stop asking questions. On the surface, that sounds like exactly what the town fears. But notice what actually happens. Every discovery pulls him deeper. The symbol doesn't solve anything. The visions don't free him. The hallucinations become stronger. The closer Jade gets to the truth, the stranger reality becomes.
Why?
Because the town rewards curiosity, not with answers, with more mysteries. That's how addiction works. You believe the next clue will explain everything. Instead, it creates 10 more questions. This is the detail everyone missed. The town never stops people from searching. It simply controls what they find. That is a much smarter prison. Then there's Tabitha. Her journey may be the strongest piece of evidence we've ever received. She actually left. At least, that's what the show wanted us to believe. She woke up outside. She saw a hospital. She met people who had never heard of the town. For one brief moment, it looked like the nightmare was over. But then, she came back. Ask yourself one uncomfortable question. If the system can pull someone back after they escape, was it ever an escape? Or was it simply another room inside the same prison? Think about a maze. Walking into a different hallway feels like progress, until you realize you're still inside the maze. That changes the meaning of Tabitha's entire storyline. The outside world may not be outside at all. It may simply be another layer of control. Now, let's talk about Boyd. Boyd is different from almost everyone else. He doesn't survive because he's stronger. He survives because the town keeps testing him, again and again. He finds the talismans. He enters impossible places. He becomes infected. He transfers the mysterious worms. He witnesses things no one else sees. Why Boyd? Why is he always at the center? Because leaders influence everyone around them. Break the leader, and the community breaks itself. That's far more efficient than sending monsters every night. Notice how often Boyd faces impossible moral choices. Save one person, or save 10. Tell the truth, or protect hope. Trust someone, or risk everyone. These aren't physical attacks. They're psychological experiments. The monsters rarely force Boyd to make these decisions. The town does. Every impossible choice weakens him a little more. Every sacrifice changes him. Every failure leaves another scar. The goal isn't just survival. It's transformation. The system doesn't merely want people alive. It wants them changed. Now connect that idea to Sara. From the beginning, Sara hears voices. Not monster voices. Something older. Something invisible. Those voices know impossible information. They predict events. They manipulate emotions. They convince her that terrible actions serve a greater purpose. That's incredibly important, because it proves influence exists without monsters. The creatures don't need to be present. Whatever controls the town can reach directly into someone's mind. That raises another terrifying possibility. How many decisions made in From are actually human? And how many were planted? Every whispered instruction, every sudden obsession, every unexplained impulse could belong to something the characters never even see. That's not horror. That's control. And then there's the music. Think about how often songs appear at exactly the wrong moment. The jukebox, the radios, the strange timing. Music isn't just atmosphere. In From, music often arrives like a message. It interrupts conversations. It changes moods. It reminds characters of memories they were trying to bury.
Why?
Because memory is one of the town's most powerful weapons. A person trapped in fear can still think clearly. A person trapped in grief cannot. The town constantly drags people back into old pain. Not to punish them. To keep them emotionally predictable. Fear becomes routine. Routine becomes obedience. And obedience keeps the system running. But here's the biggest pattern of all. Every character believes they're fighting the monsters. Meanwhile, the town quietly rewrites who they are. Boyd becomes exhausted. Jade becomes obsessed. Tabitha becomes consumed by answers. Sara becomes isolated. Victor becomes frozen in childhood. Even the strongest people slowly become different versions of themselves. That cannot be explained by survival alone. It's the result of long-term psychological pressure. Exactly what a controlled system is designed to produce. Which brings us to one terrifying realization. Maybe the monsters aren't the prison guards. Maybe they're only the alarm system. Because if someone steps too far outside the rules, something has to bring them back. And the monsters are simply the fastest way to do it. But if that's true, then we've spent 4 seasons fearing the wrong enemy. So now we have to ask the question the show has been quietly avoiding from the very beginning. If the monsters aren't the ones in control, then who is? Most theories point to a single creature, a hidden monster, an ancient evil. But I don't think that's what From has been building toward. Because every time the characters get close to one answer, the story reminds us that the town itself is alive. Not alive in the way a person is. Alive in the way a system is. A system that watches, learns,
Adapts.
corrects mistakes, and most importantly, keeps running. That sounds less like a haunted town and more like a machine. Not a machine made of metal. A machine made of people. Look back at everything we've seen. People arrive with emotional wounds. The town separates them,
Tests them.
pushes them toward impossible choices, rewards certain actions, punishes others, creates hope, then destroys it. Again and again. Every cycle produces the same result.
People change.
That may have been the goal all along. Because look at what the show is actually telling us. The town doesn't win when someone dies. It wins when someone gives up. Think about Victor. He survived longer than almost anyone, but survival came with a terrible price. He forgot parts of his past. He buried painful memories. He accepted impossible things as normal. The town didn't simply keep Victor alive. It reshaped him. He became someone who could function inside the prison. That is far more terrifying than death, because it means the town doesn't just trap bodies. It rewrites minds. Now think about Colony House and the town itself. Fans often see them as two different philosophies. One chooses freedom. The other chooses order. But what if that's another illusion? Both groups are still trapped. Both follow rules. Both lose people. Both fear the night. The conflict between them creates the feeling of choice. But they're still playing inside the same game. This is the oldest trick in psychological control. If people argue over two paths, they stop looking for the hidden exit. That isn't the real mystery. The real mystery is why the town allows conflict but never allows escape. Because conflict creates distraction. Distraction creates obedience. And obedience protects the system. Then there's something even stranger. Notice how the town almost never explains itself directly. Instead, it speaks through symbols. The bottle tree, the children, the strange drawings, the music, the visions, the voices, the tunnels, the symbol Jade keeps seeing. Every clue is incomplete.
Why?
Because certainty creates action. Confusion creates dependence. If the survivors never fully understand what's happening, they continue searching, they continue hoping, they continue feeding the cycle. That makes confusion one of the town's greatest weapons. Not fear, confusion. And this completely changes how we should see the monsters. Go back and watch their behavior. They smile. They speak softly. They tempt people to make one small mistake. Open the window. Unlock the door. Come outside. They almost never force entry. Instead, they wait for permission. That feels symbolic. The monsters don't just break into homes. They exploit human decisions. They need people to participate in their own destruction. That mirrors the town itself. The prison doesn't only trap people. It convinces them to build their own cage. Every wrong choice strengthens the system. Every act of despair feeds it. Every moment of hopelessness makes escape less likely. The monsters are simply the final consequence, not the beginning. But here's the most unsettling possibility of all. What if the town isn't trying to kill everyone? What if it's trying to find someone? Think about how differently each character is treated. Boyd experiences things others never do. Jade sees symbols no one else understands. Tabitha reaches places nobody else can reach. Victor remembers pieces of the past that everyone else has lost. Sara hears voices. Ethan seems unusually connected to the town's strange logic. These aren't random experiences. It's almost as if each person is being evaluated, tested, measured, observed. Some fail. Some survive. Some are pushed further than everyone else. That doesn't look like random horror. It looks like selection. And if the town is selecting people, then it must be selecting them for something. That's the question season May 4th finally answer. Not how to escape, but why certain people were brought here in the first place. Now the title starts to make sense. The biggest lie in From isn't about the monsters. The biggest lie is that the monsters are the story. They're not. They're the distraction. The visible fear, hiding the invisible one. Every terrifying smile. Every knock at the window. Every night spent hiding behind a talisman has kept both the characters and the audience focused on the wrong enemy. Meanwhile, the real force has remained almost completely invisible. Watching, learning, waiting. And maybe that's exactly what it wanted. Because the greatest prison isn't one built with walls. It's one where the prisoners never realize who locked the door. So, when From Season 4 finally reveals its biggest secret, don't be surprised if it isn't a new monster hiding underground. Don't be surprised if the true villain has never had a face at all. Because the most dangerous enemy isn't the creature standing outside your window. It's the unseen intelligence that convinced you to keep looking out the window, while it quietly controlled everything happening behind you. And if that's true, Then the final battle in From won't be against the monsters. It will be against the lie everyone has believed since the very first episode. And here's the haunting question we'll leave you with. If the monsters are only following the rules, what happens when the real rule maker finally decides to step into the town itself?